Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for being with us on this Monday morning for the Info Day, the virtual Info Day for the Cross-Border Renewable Energy Projects status call. We have quite a packed agenda for you this morning, but we hope this will offer all the information necessary for you to be able to apply for this call. So we will start with the presentation on cross-border renewables and the clean transition objectives. Given by my colleague Victor from DG Ener in the Commission. I will then follow to introduce you a little bit to the program and the framework in which we function. Then we have Victor again with general criteria for the selection of cross-border renewable projects. My colleague Gianluca will follow with a more technical and detailed presentation on the cost-benefit analysis and the setup of the counterfactual. Of course, we will have moments of Q&A. So after this first set of presentations, there will be a Q&A session more or less at 11. Then followed by a short break, and then we follow with more detailed information on how to prepare your proposal and how to present it, and what is the evaluation, how it will be evaluated. So the first presentation will be given by my colleague Maria on evaluation and overall call planning, and then we will find out from Luisa how to draft a quality proposal. And Ariadna will follow up with how to submit your proposal on the online portal, and then we follow, or we end with the last Q&A session. So thanks a lot for being with us this morning, and without further ado, let me pass the floor to Victor.
Many thanks for this introduction, Anka. So my name is Victor Charbonnier. I work in DG Energy in the unit Renewable Energy and Energy System Integration that is giving a political steering to the program. The intention of these first few slides, I will be short, is just to put things into perspective. What is the policy background for this program? It really is framed into two main initiatives that probably you have heard about, starting already back 5 years ago, which was the European Green Deal that sets really a direction in terms of climate ambition for the whole EU, with an objective of reaching climate neutrality by 2050. And that was translated into a wide set of policies, and notably a 55% reduction target for greenhouse gas emission by 2030. This was the so-called Fit for 55 package that was adopted back in July 2021. Then a second cornerstone is that last year the Commission has published also the Clean Industrial Deal with a new focus on competitiveness of the European economy, and this was complemented by the Affordable Energy Action Plan that really aim to lower the energy prices and turn decarbonization into a driver of growth for the European industries. And by that, the means are to speed up the rollout of clean energy, accelerating electrification, complete the internal energy markets and its interconnections, and use more efficiently our energy and cut dependence hence to the imported fossil fuels. This is really a consistent policy that we still is also part of the response today to the situation in the Middle East, and that also had momentum with the Report EU initiative from May 2022 that was taken in reaction to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and which also had the objective to speed up the deployment of renewable energy, and that was translated into an updated target for those energies that was in the Renewable Energy Directive adopted in 2023, and that sets a target of 42.5% of renewable energy in the share of final energy consumption. That came together with also a number of measures, notably to accelerate and streamline the permitting procedures, and really also a set of measures to to favor, to really promote the uptake of renewable energy in other sectors than just the electricity sector, and also to encourage, and we come here to the point, cooperation between countries in Europe to make sure that we tap into the potential for energy where it's cheap, where it's abundant. Concretely, we have provisions in the Renewable Energy Directive that sets obligation for member states to establish cooperation framework on joint project for the production of renewable energy by, it was December of last year. And that is to be followed up by the establishment also of joint projects by 2030, at least 2. And for countries that have an electricity consumption that is above 100 terawatt-hour, this member state should aim for a 3rd joint project. So you see there's really regulatory provisions to encourage such cross-border cooperation, and the CEF program that Anka will explain further is really coming as a financial incentive to this. Let me conclude with a last slide that also intends to show you the different maybe sub-objectives, if I may say, that the program aims to achieve beside the contribution to the EU decarbonization and competitiveness objectives. So notably, and those are spelled out in the Connecting Europe Facility regulation, that is the foundation for the program. Notably, we aim to support uptake of innovative renewable energy technologies. We also hope that the program can favor the deployment of offshore wind at scale, and we know there are ambitious member states that work together, notably in the North Sea Energy Council, in the Baltic also energy markets interconnection. So we do see a clear use case, I would say, for the program with those. But we also intend to favor, as I said, the uptake of renewable energy in other sectors, notably in heating and cooling, and have more and more elements that favor the integration of renewable energy. So if your projects entail some energy storage or some conversion facility, that's also something we're pleased to see, but there are of course conditions to that. We'll come to this later. Well, for this brief introduction, I leave the floor now back to you, Anka.
Thanks a lot, Victor. So as Victor anticipated, I want to introduce you a little bit into the framework in which we are operating now. What is the Cross-Border Renewable Program as part of the Connecting Europe Facility for Energy, and a little bit about our agency. So CINEA is an executive agency which deals with key financial mechanisms for the energy sector, supporting the Green Deal and the Repower EU objectives of the Commission. We speak here about the Renewable Energy Financing Mechanism, Horizon Europe, CEF Energy with both legs for energy infrastructure and cross-border renewables, LIFE for clean energy transition, and the Innovation Fund. The Horizon Europe program, as just an example, allocated 15 billion euros of support to research and innovation in renewable energy technologies, energy efficiency, electrification of heating and cooling, and the digitalization of the energy system. The Connecting Europe Facility for Energy, or CEF, is financing the better interconnection of energy networks towards a single EU energy market and the clean energy transition through the cross-border renewables. LIFE Clean Energy Transition also makes available a significant amount of money for energy efficiency and clean energy projects. Then a bit of a focus on the Connecting Europe Facility. It's a program that has existed already for the past 2 multi-annual financial frameworks of the Commission. In the current multi-annual financial framework, the budget for the Connecting Europe Facility for Energy is 5.84 billion euros. It covers projects of common interest and projects of mutual interest, that is infrastructure, energy infrastructure projects, and cross-border renewables. Just to flag that under the umbrella of the Connecting Europe facility, there is also CEF Digital, covering broadband infrastructure, and CEF Transport, covering transport infrastructure. And overall, the program has a budget of over 33 billion. Moving on to a little bit of an overview of the CEF Energy actions that have been approved since its existence. So CEF was set up in 2013 on the basis of the TENI regulation, and it is a key EU funding instrument in the sector of energy. CEF Energy contributes to further develop and interconnect energy networks in Europe and bring a key role to the energy transition. Funding under CEF Energy supports the transformation of European cross-border energy infrastructure into more resilient, green and digitalized networks necessary to make the EU energy system more interconnected and to contribute to a clean energy transition. Currently, the CEF program in the energy sector provides funding to electricity, smart electricity grids, CO2 networks, and hydrogen infrastructure projects, as well as has the aim to better interconnect energy networks towards a single energy market in Europe. For this, between 2014 and 2025, so we're speaking about last year's call, CEF Energy has supported 238 actions with a total financing of 8.8 billion euros. The largest share of this financing went into the electricity sector. The cross-border renewables part of the program of CEF is growing rapidly. We're already with 17 actions and CEF support of 165 million euros. On screen, you have a bit of an overview of the number of actions and the amounts allocated for all the sectors in case you are interested, but I will not read out the slide. So how does the CBRES program fit into CEF Energy? It has a set budget of up to 15% of the total CEF Energy budget, so up to 875 million euros, subject to market uptake. On the screen, you also see the legal basis for the program, which is the Renewable Energy Directive, the CEF regulation, the Commission delegated regulation 342 from 2022, and a specific staff working document 429 from 2021. What is the process? So we're now at the stage of the application for cross-border renewables status. So the first blue balloon on the slide. This will be followed by the publication of the list, of the cross-border renewables list. Projects having received the status are then eligible for future financing calls for works and studies under CEF for cross-border renewables. Eligible projects include renewable generation based on any renewable energy resource. They cover all sectors, so electricity, transport, heating and cooling. Other components such as storage, IT systems or grid connections, they are included provided they form an integral part of the project and effectively enable the integration of renewables and are ancillary to a renewable generation facility. Please also note that there is no predefined capacity thresholds, locations or technology as provided by the CEF regulation. You have now on the screen a list of projects that currently have the status. So these are projects that have obtained the status in the past and continue to have the status. So projects do not lose their status over time, unless they want to. They continue to have the status. So as an example, we have a couple of onshore wind projects, 2 cross-border district heating projects, 4 offshore wind projects, a hydropower project, but the whole list you see on the slide now. And in the last slide, you will see how our transparency platform looks, and with the QR code for you to access quickly this transparency platform, which shows you the location and information of existing projects currently having the CBRS status. And with this, I pass the floor back to Victor.
Thank you, Anka. So now let's deep dive into the criteria for the selection of the projects. Those are established by the part 4 of the annex of the CEF regulation, the point 2, and you also find elements in the Article 7 of that same regulation. In short, there are 3 main criteria. You have to be included in a cooperation agreement. You have to demonstrate overall benefits of the cooperation, outweighing the cost of this. And you have also, and as the second point, switch those, to demonstrate that the project is more beneficial compared to a project that will be implemented by only one member state. I present shortly what this concretely means and what are your options there. And you will see after this presentation with Gianluca in more details about notably the CBA and the counterfactual. Regarding the cooperation mechanism, this is a direct link with the Renewable Energy Directive because the CEF regulation cross-refers to a number of articles from this directive. There are 4 types of cooperation mechanism in there that pursue the same goal, is to make sure that an amount of energy from renewable energy that is produced in one member state may count toward the renewable energy share of another member state. The first case is Article 8 on the left-hand side of the slide. So this is a statistical transfer. You have 2 member states agreeing on a transfer price to purchase RES statistics. I would say it's rather relevant for CBRS application that may entail notably multiple installations. Joint projects is Article 9. So here you have 2 possibilities. Article 9 is between member states, and Article 11 is between a member state and a third country. Article 9 type of CBRS application are the most common. They consist in sharing the statistical benefits that are associated with a specific project, that is either in production of renewable electricity or renewable heating or cooling. And here again, either you can have maybe an agreed transfer price between the 2 member states, but you may also have different cost-benefit sharing approaches on a pro rata basis, for instance. And this is really driven by the obligation I mentioned in my introduction about the fact that member states should come up with 2 joint projects, notably by 2030 and more, if they are large consumer. The joint project between member states and third country are subject to more requirements because we want to make sure that the renewable energy that is produced is consumed in the EU. So there's a number of conditions in this Article 11 that you will find to demonstrate that you consume this. It's really limited to electricity. So no possibility to import renewable fuels, for instance, from a third country. It has to relate to a new installation or an installation that is refurbished after 2029 and that is not subject to a support scheme. The third country has to be a signatory of the Council of Europe Convention for Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms. So those are all the conditions you will find in this Article 11 that apply to CBRS application until a joint project with a third country. And then the last option is Article 13, which is about joint support schemes, which is a more elaborated cooperation mechanism where the member states join or partly coordinates the national support schemes. Quite relevant for multiple installation, but as I say, complex with high transaction costs, there are limited examples of this type of cooperation to date in Europe. But in the long run, they're also supposed to be more cost efficient and increase the long-term market stability for the type of energy that is to be supported. Let me add that we also intend to make space for projects that entail the production of RFNBO, so renewable liquid and gaseous transport fuel of non-biological origin. And we have added two conditions to that, which you will find in the webpage of the call, that they are compliant with the delegated regulation 2023-1184, and that they are subject to a cooperation agreement that unfortunately is not covered by these 4 articles here, but by the Article 7 of the Renewable Energy Directive. Again, you will find the references in the webpage. These cooperation mechanisms are not mutually exclusive, so member states are also free. I mean, you, promoter, you may see with the member states if there's possibility to combine maybe some of this mechanism into one agreement. One point of clarification is that the delegated act that complements the CEF regulation, you have the link on the top of the slide, says that at the stage of CBRS status application, so for this call, you do not need to have the full-fledged cooperation agreement itself already, but you need to provide at the very least a written declaration of the participating countries that express their willingness to conclude such cooperation agreement in the future. So this is the minimum bar for status application. Now, I want to stress that we do expect cooperation agreements to be signed or close to be finalized when you apply for funding if your project is securing the CBRS status. And I would say especially if you apply for funding for works. The next slide gives you some examples of project setup. On the left-hand side, you see that a project that's an onshore wind farm between Estonia and Latvia. These 2 projects, by the way, are in the CBRS list already. And you see that in the first case on the left-hand side, there's a physical crossing of the border, yet the connection is only in Latvia. And on the second example, it's an offshore wind farm in the Gulf of Riga, in the Estonian waters, that is radially connected to Estonia, but that is to be normally partly financed by Luxembourg via a statistical transfer. So you see different setup, no requirement that there is a physical interconnection, but if there is none, you should have the cooperation mechanism that is appropriate for that. Why is it important? Because we have requirement of counterfactual, where you should basically show that your project net present value is higher than the net present value of a similar hypothetical project that will take place without the cooperation mechanism. And if that is higher, that means, yeah, your project is more beneficial from a system perspective. And you may have 2 possibilities. Either you have a standard counterfactual where the project setup is basically the same. For instance, if I take the example of the previous projects on the left-hand side, the onshore wind farm, you may consider 2 onshore wind farm installations in each country, but of course that will increase the grid connection cost, for instance. So just to give you an illustrative approach. Otherwise, you may have a different project setup, so case-specific counterfactual, and here you will notably look at what would be the alternative for the member state that's purchasing, for instance, statistics from the project located in the host country. So here deviations are allowed from the standardized approach, but it needs really to be properly justified. Like look at the credible alternative of those contributing member states. We expect that the data are based on the reference scenario that the Commission updates regularly. You have the link that is provided in the bottom of the slide. CBA, so not only you should demonstrate that your approach is beneficial compared to a counterfactual, but in itself, the cooperation project should outweigh its cost. There are a number of indicators to demonstrate that. Gianluca, again, will explain that in details. They provided in the annex part 4 of the regulation, and there's methodological guidance that is set out in the Commission Staff Working Document 2021-429. Just to say on this, in the CBA, we do not address all the distributional aspects between the countries that are involved in the project, nor between the stakeholders that implement the project. So that is really something that is to be tackled as part of the cooperation mechanism that I presented before. And this will be my last slides. So what makes it in terms of technologies, components? Renewable energy, it's easy, it's defined in the Renewable Energy Directive. In the Article 2, you have a list of technology that makes it. But on top of that, we also allow additional components that are non-renewable energy components to be eligible for funding. Those, nonetheless, are framed by conditions in the delegated regulation, the Article 3. Again, you have the link at the bottom of the slide. And it notably say that the components will have to facilitate the integration of the renewable energy installation. So basically, without them, the operation of the project will utilize renewable energy in a really suboptimal manner. They have to be an integral part of the project. So it's not like you artificially had, let's say, a battery energy storage system in another place of the grid, maybe not behind the same substation, and you consider, and you try to put it in. That would not work. And you have to demonstrate that also the component is ancillary to the renewable energy generation. So it's really the renewable energy that is the main purpose of the CBRS application, and the non-renewables component are serving that purpose. There are a number of examples that are provided in the web page of the call to give you guidance. We've established all these rules also with the view to ensure delineation between the CBRS window of the CEF program and the PCI, PMI window of the program that's focused more on infrastructure and that is governed by the 10-year regulation. Whenever you apply and when we select the projects, your name of your project, if you're selected, will appear in the so-called CBRS list, but we also, for guiding the project promoters, publish on DG Energy website a technical documentation that accompanies the list and that clarify which of the components we deem eligible for future funding. And with this, I hand over the floor to you, Gianluca.
Thank you, Victor. Yes, I will go through then the CBA in details, element by element, and a little bit on the counterfactual, and also explain you a little bit more in details how does it work. The CBA tool, you have a specific tool to use that is for download from the call page, and we'll walk you through a bit the different sections. So yeah, as we said, the cost-benefit analysis contains both monetizable and non-monetizable element. The first one is a quantifiable monetizable element, which is the cost of energy, and it drills down to calculating the levelized cost of energy. The Commission Staff Working Document provides with detailed guidance on the formula to apply. So it's essentially the sum on the numerator of the investment cost and the operational maintenance factored by the discount rate, divided by the total energy produced over the project period. So this levelized cost of energy allows allows to estimate and to compare also different methods in a consistent way. Now, a point of attention is really to ensure from the CBA tool to explain where this calculation comes from, because each of the calculation is project specific, and there it's important to understand the reasoning. It might be beyond the standard formula. What is important is to understand how did you come, for example, to the calculation of the investment cost or the operational maintenance cost. So there it is really linked to the project specific elements, location, technology, country, etc. So there it's important for the evaluators to understand how did you come with that figure. Is it your estimation? Did you use project-specific calculation, or or to a certain extent, did you use sector averages for the technology? Because some of the data are not yet available, as you might have to do some specific on-field studies. So did you refer to publicly available studies? If did you refer to your own studies, it's good to attach, for example, those type of documents, and also specify some key elements like the P50, so the assumptions behind your total energy production. So how much would you estimate would be the energy yield in let's say the load factor capacity of your project. So these are all elements that are important, so that evaluator can understand exactly how did you come to that figure. Okay, the second element is about the system integration. So here we refer to the grid integration, essentially. So how much would it cost to connect the project to the grid? And the staff working document recommends detailing three main pillars of those costs. The first one is about the profile cost. And profile costs are related to the backup capacity and flexibility that the system needs to develop to meet demand at all times at peak. So this is a general classical cost related to grid connection. The second one is more specific to renewables, because it's about balancing cost, which is linked to the short-term fluctuation and uncertainty that are quite specific to the renewable energy sector, even though not exclusive, but certainly an important element to be factored for transmission system operators, notably, also DSO. And then grid-related cost. It's more about the connection charges for the future installation that will have to be borne, by whom, in which term. So here again, some point of attention when you calculate your system integration cost and the one from the counterfactual. For the profile cost, normally you may have estimate based on system operator projection. In some cases they are available. In some cases you may have historical data. Or you may decide to use a proxy, and one example provided by the staff working document is to use the LCOE of marginal peaking unit. You may want to use other proxy, and there it's important to understand the reasoning and why you thought it would be better. But that's a possibility as well. In general, I mean, for the methodology allows for deviations, but they have to be justified and explained. Balancing cost, again, you may have system operator projection or historical data, or a mix of the two. And then the grid connection charges, the grid connection related costs are normally connection charges and general network charges. And these also in this case, well, availability of data may be different from one country to another, from one operator to another, but it's again trying to use as much as possible real data or data coming from the grid operator or any proxy like historical data. The third element is the cost of support. Here it's also quantifiable. What is important to underline here is that this amount is not factored in the calculation of the global CBA, but it's more to understand how do you foresee the financing of the project, what would be the share of the public financing, what would be the share of the private financing, what would be among the public financing, the share that you foresee for the CEF program, not the CBRS, and what would be the share from any other program. So here it's a little bit of a business plan type of element. So try to understand how you will see the development of the project in terms of financing. But as I said, this is not gonna be factored in the cost-benefit analysis final calculation. So it's really to understand the projection of the project on the financing. The fourth element is the greenhouse gas emission avoidance. Here, the idea is to understand what are the benefits for the project in terms of reduced greenhouse gas emission as opposed to a counterfactual project. The main element to consider and to calculate is to calculate the global warming potential of the project based on a standardized index that is reported in the staff working document. So to measure the effect in CO2 equivalent term. Once you have established the CO2 avoided, potentially avoided tons or millions of tons or any factored amount, then you will have to monetize it. So you first estimate how much CO2 will be avoided by the project, and then this CO2 will have to be converted into euros, and this will have to be done using cost of carbon estimates. In that, the staff working document makes reference to European accepted standard and global accepted standard. So you have reference to the IPCC assessment report and to European Investment Bank analysis. So these are the main reference document. We have seen cases of projects deviating from those studies, so it is also possible. But as I said before, it's really crucial to understand why you have decided for a slightly different approach. It might be relevant because of your specific project. It might be relevant because of evolution of data. But really try to be as pedagogic as possible and explain the reasoning of the choice. Because in the end, it really goes down to demonstrating that your approach is reasonable to your case, and you didn't deviate radically from the methodology. And if you did so, you did it in a very by substantiating the choices. So this is usually a very important factor that either let's say pushes the project towards a positive or a negative CBA. So be as let's say as consistent, as thorough as possible in particular this element of the CBA. And again, it's all about comparing with the counterfactual, so how much emission would be saved thanks to the project as compared to a counterfactual. So normally the counterfactual project would compare with data coming from the contributing country, whereas the hosting project would be based on the, sorry, the CBRS project would be based on the host country, so the country where the project would be located. Obviously, if you may think now about examples that Victor has provided before, when you have projects that are crossing physically the border, the notion of contributing hosting, it's a little bit more complex to define because obviously both countries are in a way hosting. So we'll have to find your approach in those cases to flag which is the, let's say, your hosting country or your contributing country, and it can be based on also proportionality of approach. Now the fifth element is again monetized one, quantified, is the security of supply, which is a very broad concept, but in this specific case, as detailed in the staff working document, it's really about a value of change in energy import, in the primary energy consumption of the electricity or transport or heating and cooling in the sector of the project. So here the assumption is that all the electricity produced, if we are talking about electricity project, produced by the CBRS project will substitute, so will substitute import. Assuming that indeed that this quantity of electricity is fully consumed domestically. So normally you have a net gain in terms of security of supply, thanks to the CBRS project being renewable and locally produced source. Now the last quantified monetized element is air and local pollution. Here again, it's a little bit a similar approach as for greenhouse gas emission. First of all, the methodology in the staff working document identifies three main polluters, which are reported in the slide in the first bullet point: NOx, PMX, and SO2. So you have to try to calculate the emission of these three polluters, not all of the other air polluters, only these three. There is an emission factor that compares all the polluters into one single comparable value. This is reported in the staff working document, and then it will have to be multiplied the decreased emission by the economic unit cost of each pollutant. And again, here there are references of the approaches to follow. And the idea is to calculate the benefit of the project in terms of reduction of air and local pollution, and to monetize only the air pollution. So we are not talking about soil pollution or anything else, water or anything else, just the air pollution. Again, you may have, as compared to the staff working document, different approaches, and that is fine if the approach is reasonable and makes sense for your specific case, and if you have explained clearly in the CBA tool and the CBA narrative part, so that the evaluators will be able to understand and follow your logic. Okay, last cost-benefit analysis element is the innovation. So innovation is not monetized, not quantified, and here we refer to any type of innovation is very broad. So first of all, the technological innovation. So in particular to the technology you are setting up, but also the mix, for example, might be innovative. Type of approach, the area. So the type of project may be innovative for the area. And that leads also a little bit to the policy innovation, because it might be that the technology is not innovative, but the innovation lies on the fact that you manage to work cross-border with the member state on both sides of the border, which is always a big achievement, as innovation, as cooperation in energy is never never an easy task. So this is one of the aspects that that the evaluator checks. So it's not, as I said, not monetized, but it's an important one because the evaluation committee. So later on, you'll see the way the evaluation is set up. So the committee that will decide on the selection of the project will look at it as well. In particular, you may come into an important play if by any reason your monetized part leads to a negative cross-border cost-benefit analysis. And in that case, in specific situation, the qualitative element, such as the innovation part notably, may be considered and may even overcome the negative quantitative element of the CBA, which is normally a otherwise positive in terms of quantitative calculation, should be a positive result to be a CBRS project. Okay, now we look a little bit how it works, the CBA tool. So you will see also later on in the presentation that in the call page there is an Excel tool, which is a tool to be used. So this is let's say a mandatory one, and it is a model that helps to it allows to perform financial and economic analysis for the project and to demonstrate those benefits, those quantitative benefit. So it's a way to improve also investment decision making, first of all for your project on your side, and then in the evaluation of the CBRS project itself. So the tool, as typically any Excel tool, foreseen several tabs. Some are guidance tab, and some are input tab, and then finally you have several calculation tabs. So you see it illustrated in the slide. So you essentially have 3 calculation tabs, and where you have to enter your the data, project-specific data. Then you will have a check and control tab. That is a guidance, and then you will have a series of calculation tabs which are blocked, but you can see so that you can see how the tool is functioning. So the first calculation tab, so input tab, is the calculation of the CBA input. So this is a relatively free tab. You will see a guided structure. You don't see all the elements when you open the tab. It's just that because you have to create them. So there are examples, but then the idea is to facilitate the structure of the tab. So this tab is editable not only by inserting figures, but also by adding lines and tables and anything, any explanation you would want to add. So there, it's a very, very important one because it's really where the evaluators will focus to understand the logic, but also to stress test, if you like, your calculation, your assumptions. So first of all, main recommendation is never to indicate hard-coded figures like pictures, but really to type in your data, your formulas, so that the evaluator can really check the calculation. If they are hard-coded, it's impossible to check, and it's a negative implication in the evaluation, because the evaluator cannot realistically trust the data. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, whenever needed, include your intermediate element, so that we understand and the evaluator understands how did you come to these global figures, for example, for the 7 elements, or the 5 elements that are monetized. And then finally, ensure that the total cost of energy, the system integration cost, the calculation of GHG emission, the air pollution, and the security of supply, those figures are transferred into the tab called In Data, because the In Data then will calculate exactly the outcome of the CBA. So you'll see it in the slide now, the In Data and the In General. So the In General tab, the one on the left, you have to include reference data, the base year. You can use up to 3 base year. Then another 2 simple elements, which are the commissioning year and lifetime of the project, which is set to minimum 15 years, but it can be more. You can use 1 base year, but you can use up to 3. So if you use 1 base year, you simply indicate in base year 1, and then you leave it blank for base year 2, base year 3. For the In Data, is normally will be automatically populated from the In General data and from the data you have inserted in the calculation CBA tool. So you should see in the In Data the data. If not, please take it from the previous tab. Since the previous tab is modifiable, we cannot guarantee it automatically populates the In Data. So double check, it's really important, the In Data, because if your In Data is not there, it's not filled in, then you don't really have the calculation. Then you have a very useful tab, which is not a, let's say, a calculation tab, but it is about a long list of about 50 controls, so 50 lines. These are automatic checks and controls that spot potential error. They have also color coding following non-critical or critical potential errors. If you see one of those or several, it doesn't mean automatically there's something wrong with your CBA, but it means that at the very least, you should double check that data, because it gives a warning. So the warning might be justified by your project setup, but it could even be very well be that it is a mistake. So it really is a tab that should help you in the calculation, in the finalization of your CBA. So have a look, and the suggestion is to have a look one last time before you submit whether this CBA tab is all fine. It doesn't mark any critical error or non-critical. And if there are critical error, you may decide to keep it then, because there are very justified reasons because of the specific project setup. But at least you have double checked. And then you have all the tabs to the right. These are all blocked tab, cannot be added, but are all visible. some point in the previous calls, we did have it hidden because they are quite complex and might be a little bit confusing. So you can ignore them, but you can also look at them if you want to see how the whole tool works. So you have essentially tabs that contains a cash flow statement for the entire project duration. That is based, of course, in the value I've indicated previously. The same in the second tab is the discounted. And then you have the output that gives you a streamlined view of the key result from the discounted tab, and includes some consistency checks. And then also other two tabs on the to the right, the calculation in check, which is a tab again on the cash flow statement. Sorry, verifying the integrity and the consistency of the calculation, and some tab about identifier for the model. So this is the overall functioning of the tab. In the first two tab of the tool, in the first two tab, you have the cover page that gives you a bit of guidance, and the second one is actually the output dashboard, which is the outcome of your CBA. So this is fully automatized, but will be exactly the key element to check at the end, because the CBA must be positive, as Victor was showing, and it must be more positive, so I have a positive delta compared to the counterfactual CBA that is included the same way as the project CBA in the tool. I hope that's clear, and sometimes question comes when when obviously you start working concretely, and but again, it's a model, and it's important to keep it in mind, because you might have to adapt the approach and to your specific case, and in that case, it's very important that you really explain in narrative and in the calculation how did you came to those figures, and if you deviated, explain really why you did deviate, how did you deviate, and how it is this more sound for your specific case, more consistent, and more adapted to your project, still without completely deviating from the approach, which is really to calculate this net benefit of the CBRS project as a societal level. As you have seen, those elements are very broad, as opposed to a project that would happen potentially without a cooperation, so it doesn't need these cross-border renewable energy program support. I think I will stop here. We are a bit ahead of schedule, but maybe we can go for the Q&A. I see for the moment we don't really have questions, but so we can pause a bit, wait for the question. Maybe we wait 5 minutes, and otherwise we can anticipate the break, and during the break you can submit questions, and then in that case we will start maybe at 11 o'clock instead of 11:30. Yeah, but let's wait online with and so if there are questions, we can still reply to them right now. Let's give a few minutes to people to digest all the information, and then otherwise we break. Okay, seems we were extremely clear today for the moment, so no questions. So we will actually break it before, I mean, we're ahead of schedule. You will have the slide with the QR code and the hashtag CEF Energy CBRS. Don't hesitate during the break to go to Slido and write your questions there. So we can always come back to this Q&A session if you have questions. If you have no question, we skip this Q&A. It means that it's all clear, and we can go right to the next part of the info day. So we'll be earlier. And in any case, if there are still questions during the presentations, there will be a last possibility at the end of the info day with another Q&A slot. So you can always write your question later on. So we'll start after we do a little break now, and we'll start back at 10:50. We keep the slide with the QR code and the hashtag, so you can always connect during the break. So be back at 10:50 for the second part of this info session. And if in the meantime there will be questions, we can start from those questions and then go further in the PowerPoint. So see you at 10:50. Yeah. So we are going back to the second part. So not many questions yet. So we go ahead and we will park them at the end. So yeah, the pledge is to continue using Slido anytime. Then we have now a set of presentation. The first from Maria that will present the evaluation process, and then Luisa will follow, and Ariadna. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gianluca. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Spando. I'm the evaluation advisor at Unit B4 at CINEA and the call coordinator for this call. So now I will guide you through a little bit of on the evaluation process and the timelines, building, of course, upon what my colleagues have presented so far. So first of all, what happens after the call closes? So there are 3 stages. So it's the preliminary checks to check the applications. Then it's the actual evaluation process that the admissible and eligible proposals will be evaluated. And finally, at the end of the evaluation process, the successful projects that will be selected to obtain the CBRS status will form the part of the list that will follow the necessary procedure for the adoption of the last CBRS status list for this MFF. So this is the last opportunity to apply for the status in the framework of the CBRS sub-program. So the evaluation and the selection process and the selection award criteria have already been presented. Previously is based on the CEF regulation and the delegated act. You can find all the information on the legal base and all the templates in the call website. Now I will delve into the individual phases that I presented you. So what do we do when we do the preliminary checks on the submitted applications? So you can consider it as a checklist to take into consideration before finalizing your application. So the applications have to be submitted before the call closure and only via the submission platform, no emails, no anything. It has to be complete, so all the mandatory documents should be present in your application. It should be readable, accessible, and printable, drafted in one of the official EU languages, and using the mandatory templates. I will talk about it in a while. So the application consists of an online part and also of annexes that have to be uploaded. In the website of the call, of the CBRS status call, you will find all the templates for the annexes, which were presented to a certain extent by my colleagues. So you have the CBRS tool that was presented by Gianluca before the break, the CBRS application form and the CBA report. Annex 3 concerns a written declaration of the participating countries in case that a cooperation agreement is not present. So it's either or. And the template, I have to stress that the template that is provided is not mandatory. The declaration, or the written declaration of the participating countries is mandatory. We recommend that you use the template, but in case you use your own template, the information that is required in the template should be present. And Annex 4 concerns then the sustainability and do no significant harm compliance file. So what are the eligibility conditions to apply for the call? This stems from Article 2 of the Delegated Act. So in order to be eligible, applicants, and by applicants we mean beneficiaries and affiliated entities, must be legal entities. They can be either public or private bodies, and they have to be established in one of the eligible countries. And for the program, this means EU member states, including overseas countries and territories, and non-EU countries, if the project involves a physical link to an EU member state. So the selection criteria, they were also outlined by my colleagues previously. First of all, the cooperation mechanism. As it was mentioned, at this point, although highly recommended, the cooperation mechanism is to be submitted, but in case that it's not finalized at this stage, a written declaration of the participating member states and third countries is mandatory. This document identifies the cooperation mechanism to be applied, and it is signed by the ministries of the participating member states. Also, this includes the signature of the transit countries where relevant. What technologies and components and investments are eligible? So this comes also from the Directive 2018-21, Article 2001, sorry, Article 2. So the project concerns energy generation technologies based on the renewable energy sources, and the list can be found under Article 2. As it was previously mentioned, there can be additional components, but they cannot be standalone projects. They have to be ancillary, and they have to be integral part of the project and should enable the integration. For a list of additional components, you can also consult the Commission delegated regulation cited in this slide. You will receive, we will publish the presentation, so you will be able to access all the information also through the hyperlinks of the presentation. Then comes the technical evaluation. What is being assessed at this stage? It's the technical soundness of the project, the soundness of the CBA, and as it was mentioned, the CBA concerns the proposed project and the counterfactual, analysis of the net present value, but also the qualitative elements that are factored in the application. So this is the triad of the technical evaluation. And now we will talk about the indicative timeline. The call opened today. So as of today, you can start submitting applications, and the call will be open until October 6th, 2026. And I reiterate that only through the submission system applications are acceptable. After the call deadline, the evaluation period starts, and this will cover roughly October-December 2026. After the evaluation period is finalized, the letter of results will be sent out to applicants, informing about the success or successful selection for the next CBRS status list. And this is expected to take place between February and March 2027. And finally, the list will follow the legislative procedure foreseen, and it is expected to enter into force around May and June 2025. So this is the indicative timeline for the CBRS status call. And then I will outline what happens afterwards, because obtaining the status call, the status gives access to the next CBRS studies and works call for 2027. So after the CBRS list enters into force, as I said, around May, June 2025, then afterwards a call for works and studies, CBRS works and studies, will open for submission of applications. And a similar process, an evaluation process, will take place. And then in around December 2027, the results of the works and studies call are expected. And this outlines more or less the indicative timeline, which you can find information for in the CINEA website, at the calls websites, either the CBRS status webpage, or in the future in Funding and Tenders portal for the CBRS Works and Studies call. Thank you so much.
Good morning on my side as well. I'm Luisa Fafamicruli. I'm a project advisor in the CBRS team at CINEA. And I will guide you through how to draft a good proposal. So you have seen how proposals are evaluated. You have seen the selection criteria used by the external experts. So we will now focus on the application itself, because a strong project to be presented needs a very strong application, and your objective would be to make it as easy as possible for the external experts to understand your project and to assess its merits. So I will go through some points today that are based on what we have learned from managing the first 5 CBRS calls and from supporting the evaluation process. And we have seen that although every project is very different, they have some things in common. So strongest applications share the fact that they are clear, that they are consistent, and that they explain the choices they have made. So I will go through some practical recommendations and highlight a few common mistakes. And to start, we go into admissibility and eligibility. So this is where every proposal starts. And before anyone looks at the content and quality of your proposal, the proposal itself must first meet admissibility and eligibility requirements. So one of the most common reasons that proposals are found ineligible, it's a missing declaration from one or more participating countries. These declarations, explained earlier by colleagues, confirm the country's willingness to enter into a cooperation agreement and their willingness to support the project in question. So if they are not there, the proposal cannot obtain the CBRS status. So please do not leave the cooperation mechanism until the very end of submission. Start your discussions as soon as you have a credible project concept and talk to the participating countries early. If you do not yet have contacts, please refer to the CBRS webpage. You will see the national contact points listed. And please take also into account that these discussions could take longer than expected. So you are recommended to start early to give everyone the time to align themselves before the submission deadline. Because once these requirements, the admissibility and eligibility requirements are in place, then the assessment moves to the quality of the proposal itself. So 3 things are worth checking before you submit. And the first one is consistency. So your application form, Annex 1, Annex 2, they should all tell the same story. The figures should match, the assumptions should match, and the technical description should also match. Because if they do not, then the assessment becomes more difficult. The experts would need to guess, and they will not. Then you have to remember, be complete. Explain the project clearly. Describe the technology. Describe the location, even if it is still indicative. Explain the business model. Explain the key market assumptions. If some elements are still being developed, explain which are these elements and explain why work is still ongoing and what type of work that would be. And then please be precise, because every important figure, think about it, should have a clear and named source. Is your data project specific? Does data come from your own analysis? Is it a published study? you would need to make that clear. And if you have any supporting documents to back up your claims, please upload them as additional annexes. So do not assume that people assessing your proposal know your project. It might be easy to because you know your project by heart, but they do not. So explain it so that they can then focus on the quality and not on trying to fill in the gaps. So now going into the cross-benefit analysis. It starts with the assumptions. So you will need to explain them. You will need to show what assumptions you have made on costs, then what assumptions you have made on revenues, and where do your electricity prices assumptions come from. If you're using your own analysis, you would need to explain the methodology here. If you're relying on published studies or recognized market scenarios, also you would need to reference them. And the same would also apply to the counterfactual. Are you using the standardized counterfactual? If yes, please explain why this is the appropriate method for your project. If not, explain your choice. Why have you chosen a project-specific one? Explain the rationale behind it. And why that technology? Why that location? What would the alternative be? Please use Annex 2 to explain your reasoning. And it will be easier to understand the analysis the clearer the assumptions you present. So once those assumptions presented are clear, then you need to show how they translate into the calculations. So do not stop at the final result. You are urged to break it down, to take, for example, the LCOE calculation. Show how you arrived at the investment costs. Explain what are the main components. For example, which P50 energy yield have you used? Why is that value appropriate for your specific project? And the same applies to greenhouse gas calculations. So, for example, which CO2 price did you use? Did you use the reference scenario? If not, you would need to explain why you made that choice. So remember that calculations need to be transparent and they need to be easy to follow for external experts. That will help them to understand how robust your analysis is. And for that, you would need to document your sources. So every important figure in your application should be traceable. Is it based on project-specific data? Is it a sector study, a recognized reference scenario? If it is a public source, name it, and if you have supporting studies, please attach them. There could be a case where information is commercially sensitive, so please indicate that in your application. Also remember that clear references do strengthen the credibility of the proposal. So we will now look at the types of projects that are eligible under the CBRS mechanism. And we have 4 scenarios. The first 2 are the eligible scenarios. So first scenario on the left is a proposal of new renewable energy generation. Any renewable energy technology listed in Article 2 of the RED Directive may be eligible, and that includes technologies such as wind, solar, hydropower, geothermal, or renewable hydrogen production linked to renewable generation. The second scenario combines renewable energy generation with additional components. For example, we could have storage, grid connections, ICT systems, or renewable fuel conversion facilities. These additional components are eligible provided that they support the renewable energy project and they fall within the scope defined in the Delegated Act and the relevant work program. So the key point is simple. Renewable energy is at the core of your project, and the additional components need to support renewable energy generation. And let us have a look at the two examples that are outside of the scope of the program. And the first concerns projects that include only transmission or storage. For example, we could have a hydrogen pipeline without renewable energy generation, green ammonia storage, or a standalone battery system. The second non-eligible scenario concerns projects that contribute to climate objectives but are not renewable energy projects. So that would be a carbon capture project or CO2 pipelines or an energy efficiency retrofitting project. So these projects may be eligible under other EU funding programs, but not under the CBRS mechanism. So before you start preparing your application, make sure, first of all, that the project fits the scope of the CBRS program. And I would like to finish with a few common mistakes that are easy to avoid once you know. So the first is selecting the wrong cooperation mechanism, and this is very important because it determines which sections of the application are open and you would need to complete. So this has an impact particularly on sections 4 and 5. Another common issue is an incomplete application. So for example, that would be leaving the project location or the implementation schedule too vague. So even if something is not final yet, explain your current assumptions and do not leave the section blank. So sometimes the calculations are there, methodology is not explained. You need to show how you have reached the results for the CBA. You need to provide the formulas where relevant, and you need to identify your sources. Finally, please pay attention to the counterfactual. Remember, it should be justified. It should be also realistic. So a few extra lines there of explanation can make a huge difference during the assessment. And before I hand over, I would like to come back specifically to the counterfactual, because you have seen that the standardized counterfactual is the preferred approach. It should represent a realistic alternative to the project that you are proposing. As a general rule, please base it on the participating member state with the most comparable technical and market conditions. Where relevant, this will often be the contributing member state with the highest participation share. So the objective for you is to make the comparison as fair and as credible as possible. So there could be cases where the standardized counterfactual is not a good fit. So then you will have to develop a project-specific one instead. For example, you might need a different renewable technology or a different capacity or a different location. The most important part here is that you explain your reasoning. And you have some specific practical examples in the staff working document. So for instance, if one of the cooperating countries is landlocked, offshore wind is unlikely to be a realistic counterfactual. So a different technology will be more appropriate here. And then you should look carefully at the results. If the delta in your CBA is negative, you would need to check your assumptions and you need to check your calculations. If the results remain negative, you would need to explain why that is so. And let the external experts understand. Are there quantitative benefits that the methodology does not fully capture? Are there any qualitative benefits that should also be considered in their assessment? So guide them, include that explanation in your proposal. Remember that what is important is that your counterfactual is realistic and it's well justified and it's appropriate for your specific projects. So with that in mind, I will hand over to Ariadna, who will guide you through the funding and tenders portal and the online submission process. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Ariadna Hraste from the CEF Energy CBRES team in CINEA, and I will talk to you about how to submit your proposal via the online portal. Before starting your application, it is very important that you create an EU login account. You can do so by following the link that is here in this presentation that you will get access to afterwards. Once you follow the link, you will need to click on the Create an Account button and fill your details accordingly. You will receive a confirmation email describing the next steps. Your EU login will allow you to log in and submit an application on the CBRES submission platform. You can also follow the link below in this presentation for additional guidance on the EU login. To access the submission platform, you can apply from the call landing page on the CINEA website. It will take you directly to the submission platform itself. If you want to consult the user manual for step-by-step guidance, you can also find it at the submission platform under How to Apply and By When. How to create an application on the CBRES submission platform. First, you will need to select the call you wish to participate in from the drop-down list. Once selected, click the Create a New Application button, and a window will pop up. Then you will fill in your project name and acronym. Please remember to always click Save before moving on to the next step. Editing and filling in your application. Select the drop-down arrow next to the Actions button and click on Edit Application. Or you can directly click on your project ID as it's shown in the first picture. This will lead you to a new page where you will find each section of your application. Click on a section to be able to edit its contents. Here you can find all the different sections that you will have to complete in. The first one is Project, Project Promoter's Details, Cooperation Mechanism, Project General Information, Location and Implementation Schedule, Project Costs, Sensitive Information, and Annexes. Additionally, you will also have useful links and the Check and Submit section. The first section is Project. To be able to edit it, click on the Edit button that's on the upper right corner, and then you will be able to fill in or edit this section. A window will pop up where you can put all the information. Once you're done, please remember to click the Save button before moving forward, and anything that appears in red means that it's still incomplete and you need to fill it in. The second section is the Project Promoter's Details. Once again, click on the Add button to include the details of our project promoter. A window will pop up, you can fill the information, and anything in red is mandatory for you to fill in. For section 2.1.5, which is Contact Persons, you can add as many contact points as you wish. Before moving forward, click the Save button. Section number 3 is a cooperation mechanism. Again, click on the Edit button to be able to fill in all the information or to edit it. A window will pop up where you can put all the information, and things in red means they are mandatory or that you still need to complete them. Click Save before moving forward. And here comes a very important part that it's important that you pay attention to what you choose. In section 3.1, you will select the cooperation agreement. You will usually be either a joint project between member states or member state and third countries. If your project concerns a statistical transfer between member states or a joint support scheme, please note that you won't be asked to fill sections 5 and 6, and so the addition of these sections will then be disabled. Choose statistical transfer or joint support scheme only if you are not looking to build a new project. Your choice here will then affect how you complete the application. Section number 4, Project General Information. Click on Edit to fill in and edit this section as the same as in the previous sections. But if you cannot edit this section, if you find that it's not, if you find that it's disabled, that means that you have chosen the wrong cooperation mechanism in the previous section number 3. A window will pop up to edit the information. Things in red means they are incomplete and you must complete them before clicking Save and moving forward to the next one. Section number 5 is Location and Implementation Schedule. Section 5.1 requires you to map the location of your project on a GIS interface. You can use the dialog box as it's shown in the picture on the left side to be able to either manually add infrastructure on the GIS map, or you can directly upload a file. You will also be able to export the data you have submitted here. You can search the exact location of your project using the search box, and also add infrastructure directly on the map. You will be able to add point infrastructures, line infrastructures, and polygon infrastructures. Before moving forward, click Save. How to add a point infrastructure in the map? You can select it in the drop-down list, then double-click on the desired location, and then hit Save. To add a line infrastructure, you can once again select it in the drop-down list, then click once to initiate the line, and then another time to add a point on the line. Finally, double-click to the final point to validate the line, and then click Save. Adding a polygon infrastructure. You will need to select it in the drop-down list, drag your mouse, and click to add a point to the polygon. Double-click to finish the polygon and press Save. The polygon infrastructure will appear on the map. Editing an infrastructure. Undo the Add Infrastructure button. Select the desired element, and a window will pop up. For the other questions of Section 5, click on Edit to fill them in or edit. 5.2. Remember to save before moving to the next section. If questions in Section 5.2 do not appear, it means that you did not select a joint project cooperation mechanism in Section 3. Section 4 is project costs, where you once again will be able to click on the Edit to fill in the information or to edit it if you need to, where a window will pop up, and you can complete the information. Things in red means that they are either incomplete and that you need to fill them in before clicking Save and moving forward. Once again, if you are not able to complete the questions in Section 6.2, it means that you have not selected the joint project cooperation mechanism in Section 3. You can go back and edit it. Section number 7 is sensitive information. By clicking on the Edit button, you will be able to complete it. But here, if you select No under question 7.1, you will not be able to reply to questions 7.2 and 7.3. So please pay attention to how you respond to this question. Remember to click on the Save button before moving to the next section. Finally, Section 8 is Annexes. This section enables you to upload the mandatory annexes for your application. You can find the annexes templates in the Call Documents section of the call page. For each annex submission, make sure that your template is both in the adequate file type and size. As you can see in the picture number 2, by clicking on the thumbnail, you will be able to upload the file. Please remember to click the Save button before moving forward. Additionally to the sections you need to complete, you will be able to find below the useful links. The Useful Links tab lists all the relevant links to the call, such as the link to the call page, where you can find the templates for the annexes, and also the link to the DG Energy webpage. And last but not least, the Check and Submit section. Before submitting, you will be able to download your application in a Word file, and then you can control that all the fields that you have completed are well written. You will be also able to download this Word file anytime that you want. The fields marked in yellow in the Check and Submit section highlight the incomplete sections which are required to submit your application, so make sure that they are all complete and that nothing is missing. Submitting your application. Once you think that your application is complete, you can press the Submit button. We recommend that you allow yourself some time to complete the application. It's advisable to submit it a few hours before the deadline at the latest to avoid any technical issues. A green message will confirm your submission. You will then be able to close the submission window. If you're asking yourself if you can amend or view your application after you have submitted it, well, you will always be able to go back to the submission platform and view and amend your application. You need to click on the drop-down arrow to select your desired action. You can amend your application as many times as you want, as long as you do it before the call's deadline. Finally, you can also withdraw your application and start a new one if you wish. Thank you very much for joining, and I will now pass it on to the Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you both, Luisa and Ariadna. Maybe on this submission platform, indeed, sometimes, the only tricky aspect is really the cooperation mechanism. So we have seen a couple of times a mistake of choice. So even in the case that, also distant cooperation when you don't have cross-border, physically crossing the border, but you have project fully into one member state and a distant member state cooperating, it's likely that the main aim of the cooperation will be the statistical transfer, but in this case you have to choose a joint project in the logic of the platform, because it's a new project that you will create, and that's only how it really allows you to fill in all the relevant sections. So that's really the only thing to pay attention, maybe from the learning of the past on the sensitive information section. Sometimes we have seen a very wide interpretation of what can be considered sensitive. So the pledge is really to carefully assess what is really, if anything, sensitive from your application, starting from the fact that in any case your application will stay will not be disclosed publicly, so it's obviously a confidential information in any event. It's just this section is for you to flag any very specific element that you think that is strongly commercially sensitive that should be kept as really as confidential as possible within the people that assess. Meaning that the member state that will finally validate the assessment shouldn't access to that specific data. So, but really carefully assess that, because we have seen in the past application where essentially was all flagged as sensitive, but that cannot be possible because we also have, the Commission has obligation to transmit certain data to the member state so that they can also access to the minimum data needed to assess the project as well. And maybe a last point, since this is gonna be the last info day for the CBRS status call, it's also worth mentioning that this IT application that was presented by Ariadna has been developed internally by the CINEA IT team, and we have to say that in 6 applications there was not a single problem, not a single moment of difficulty from applicants from IT perspective. So it was really extremely smooth, and we would like to thank the team. And you will see if you use the application this time round, I'm sure there will be no problem. It's a very, very user-friendly application. So, but indeed, use it as early as possible. Don't wait until the end, because IT last-minute issues can always happen. Can be merely a network issue, and then you may have trouble in submitting your application. So I said maybe the last most important piece of information that was already stressed. This is the last CBRS status call for this multi-annual financial framework from this period budget. So it's the last chance to enter in the list and then be able to apply for the CEF Energy Cross-Border Renewable Program support, so funding grant support next year. Around spring next year or Q2 next year, we'll open the last works and study call. In the meantime, there will be another works and study call, but this is only for those who are already in the list. And by the way, piece of information is that the Commission will adopt the new list of projects in the course of July. in case on the other side of the web there are any project promoters from the current call, so you should receive information soon. And also for those who are interested in general to apply for the new call, it may be interesting and worth reading the projects that have been selected so far, the full list. I'm looking at the question and answer. There's none. So today has been really calm. So hope it is because it was very clear, and I think we can close it here. I mean, we are ahead of schedule, which is better than being late. So in any case, for those who may connect, in case there are anybody who wanted to connect later today and may have missed some presentation because we were ahead of schedule, it's worth mentioning that the recording of this event will be also available via the Info Days page in the coming days, let's say next week. So as soon as we have it, we will put it at disposal. Same for the PowerPoint presentation. They will also be uploaded in the coming days. If you connect next week, you will find them. So you can always go back. In the call page, there is a document that was quoted also earlier, which is called FAQ, and it's a very long list of the questions, like collection of questions that have been raised during the past Info Days. So you can go back to that because always a source of inspirations. So yeah, we have actually a last-minute question from the slide, so we can maybe show it in the screen. So the questions from Claire. Morning, Claire. Did I understand correctly that there will still be 2 works and study call? So yes, that's correct. So we will publish 1 works and study call in Q4 this year for the projects that are already in the list or that will enter in the list. As I said, in the coming days, we will have the news about the adoption of the new list by the Commission for the fifth CBRE status call. So those projects will be able to apply already in Q4. We should be able to open in November or in that period of the year. And then the project that will be eventually selected in this sixth CBRE status call, so we'll run now the call until early October, evaluation period Q4 2026 and Q1 and 2 on 2027. Those projects will enter in the list for the sixth status call, will enter in the list and will be able to apply for a last works and study call that should open in Q2 2027. This will be the last call of the works and study. So 2 works and study calls still available, one for those that are already in the list and one last one for those who may be eventually selected under this current sixth status call. And I think we have another question. So so I think I touched upon, so this is about when the result of the fifth status call will be available. Should we apply the same project we already applied under the fifth status call if there are no results? So there will be results and it will be in the coming days, really. It is really expected for the first half of July, so you will know if you have been selected. And if you are not being selected, and you think you can tackle the element of shortcoming weaknesses that were highlighted in the call, so your project has been rejected in this time round, well, you're very welcome to reapply for this last round of status call. Hopefully you can punctually work on the weaknesses, improve your application, and be ready in time for the beginning of October when this call will close again. Okay, I hope it's clear for everyone. I see no further question. Yeah, so we can thank every speaker today and past speakers as well. Thank you, our communication team, for organization and hosting. Stay tuned so as I said, in the Info Day page, you will find the material. In the call page, you will find everything, including FAQ. And if you have a question and you didn't find the answer through all this material available, you can still always get in touch with us via the mailbox that is indicated in the slide. Thank you. And also in the page of the call, so CINEA CEF Renewables is the main email address to contact in case you don't find your answer in the already available material online. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and good luck for your last call.